Hi everyone, it's TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to another The Sims 4 speed build. Today I'm going to be making a house that I've named Delightful Daisy, which I know sounds kind of cheesy, but as you'll see a little bit, maybe from what you already saw looking at the thumbnail, this house is a bright yellow color, which made me think of daisies, and also it's just very cheery looking, and I like alliteration, so I decided to name it Delightful Daisy. And this house will be another one of the ones that I'll be using in my Sims 4 Let's Play, and this will be the house that Brian, Meredith, and Malcolm live in. And I know it may seem a little bit odd that, Sims who are younger and starting out are in a house that's not a starter-looking house. But I guess, story-wise, my explanation for that is that, Meredith and Malcolm finally decided to move in together, and Meredith is a cheerful Sim, so she came across this bright, cheery-looking house and fell in love with it, even though it was a little bit beyond their means and more than what they could afford. And, they got and struggled with paying for the bills a little bit and, had their power shut off. But then, fortunately for them, Brian, Meredith's twin brother, graduated from college and needed a place to stay, so he moved in with them and pays a bit of rent, which, helps them with the bills. So, yeah, that's why they're in this house. And plus, I thought it'd be fun to play in a nicer, little bit larger than a starter home-size house, because I just feel like it's be kind of boring if everyone was in small bare bone style houses that barely especially with 3 Sims, a starter home doesn't really work as well for that. So I just thought it'd be fun to make this really nice old looking house and use it for the Let's Play. And I mean, the other ones won't be quite as ornate in this house, although this house isn't really that ornate. But the other, of course, there's a starter home that CJ's living in. And then for Bobby and Olivia, I will be using the house that I made in the Let's Build, although I'll probably cheapen it up a bit, replace the TV and the computer with cheaper ones, for example, and probably replace most of the stuff in the kitchen, because I know I use more expensive appliances, I also use more expensive counters, and I'll also be sure to take out those overlapping plants that were causing items to disappear every time I went through a loading screen, because I don't want to be dealing with that in the Let's Play, but I estimate that'll take 10 to 15,000 simoleons off of the house, make it a little bit cheaper. And then the house that I make for Lily and Taz will also be a little, be a bit smaller, not quite as nicely landscaped as this one. As you'll see in a little bit, I did put a lot of plants and landscaping in this house just because, I don't know, I just want to make a really pretty, older looking house. But, the other ones aren't going to be like that. They're going to be a little bit more starterish looking, but I just wanted to have one house like that. At this point, the structure of the house is pretty much done, and I believe the style of this house is Queen Anne rather than Victorian, I guess because it doesn't have the turrets. I'm not 100% sure though, but I think it is Queen Anne. I'm not really sure what the differences between that and being Victorian style is, but I've moved on to putting on the windows, and then I did have this issue with the roof popping through into the second floor, but I found that what fixed that was putting another room inside of the interior of the house and then moving the edges of it out to the outer edges of the house. That seemed to get rid of the roof popping in. So if any of you have that issue, I recommend trying that and seeing if it worked. I just find that the whole room system is kind of wonky sometimes. It doesn't really work right. But right now I'm just going in and setting up the floor plan of the house before finishing off the exterior. So that area in there, as you go into the front door, is just kind of a foyer area with the stairs in there. It's kind of a separate thing, and then I'm just going around and finishing up the window placement, and then I do go back in a little bit later and finish making the floor plan. And I used a combination of the shuttered windows and non-shuttered windows just because, the shuttered ones take up 2 tile spaces, so they didn't really fit in right in some places, but wherever I did use the non-shuttered ones, I put in some flowers to make it look a little bit better. But here I'm back into the interior of the house, putting in the floor plan, and I made the kitchen its own separate room. Usually I have the kitchen, living and dining area all kind of open, but since this is an older house, I decided to have it be a separate room, and then the dining room and the living room just kind of this combined thing. And as you may have seen just there, I did put in the second floor plan, and this house is only 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I was originally going to have it be 1 bathroom and 3 bedrooms, and then use the 3rd bedroom as a study, but the 3rd bedroom is only 3 by 3, which is really small. So, plus there's also 3 Sims, so I feel like with 1 bathroom, they'd have a lot of the silly walking in on each other using the bathroom issue. So I just made it 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and they're pretty small bedrooms, so this house is actually pretty small on the inside. But I did put the exterior wall paint on, and I changed all the shutters to be blue, which I think looks really nice. Like I said, it's just a very cheerful looking house. And I was going to use the wallpaper with the borders on it just because it looks a little bit nicer, but it wasn't going on all of the corners, and I messed around off camera with trying to make it show up on all of them, but I just got frustrated and was like, you know what, I'm just going to use the one without borders, because if not all of them are going to have the borders, then none of them will, because it just looks kind of weird if there's borders up on the second floor and there's none on the first floor. And I really do wish that they had the border walls that you could place manually, because, you know, it's with a room system, it's just not reliable. Like, I don't know what exactly it is. Like, I don't know if it's if the room size is too small, but it just wouldn't show up where I wanted to. But I am moving on to a bit of the landscaping now. I was trying to figure out what to put as a path going from the stairs out to the street. And then here I'm doing, you know, putting some plants in, and there are a lot of plants, you know, a lot of plants and a lot of landscaping in this yard, because I went through the plants a little bit more and discovered some new ones that I didn't see back when I did the Let's Build series, so I took advantage of, you know, discovering all the new plants and just put a ton of them in, since, you know, I couldn't really do that with a starter home because, you know, it's a starter, plants are expensive, so you can't really put a whole lot in though, so. But I do think it looks pretty nice. I did find those, the hedges that are on either side of the window that are kind of tall. I came across those and I really like them. There's something similar to that in The Sims 3 that I like to use. I also added some more similar plants beside the porch just to, you know, fill in a little bit nicer. And aside from the plants that are right next to the house, there actually isn't really a ton of landscaping in the rest of the yard. You know, there's actually a lot of empty just grass areas, which is kind of different how I used to, you know, usually did landscaping in The Sims 3, because in The Sims 3 I tend to just have plants and stuff everywhere. But with The Sims 4, I feel like the lighting looks better and the surroundings are much nicer looking, and, you know, things just look nicer, so it's not necessary to really have as much landscaping to make things look good, I feel. At this point, I'm moving on to landscaping the backyard, and I decided to change the paths from being terrain paint to actually using one of the outdoor floor tiles, because I actually found this really nice looking rock floor tile, and I felt like it looked a little bit better than the terrain paint option, so I decided to try it out. You know, I don't normally use flooring for landscaping outside, but, you know, this actually worked really well. And I also put in a little flower bed similar to what I did in the Let's Build house. And I was just trying to figure out a smaller tree to put in the side there, but I couldn't really find anything I like, so I'm gonna go back to that in a little bit. But I also added some more of those small tree type shrubs, you know, beside there. And and I did want to add a gazebo into the backyard because I wanted to have a mixology bar, and there's not really enough room for that in the house. And, you know, of course there has to be a mixology bar because Meredith wants to be a mixologist. So, you know, I feel like it would be good if she'd be able to practice that while on her home lot. So I thought it would look nice to just make a little gazebo for the bar to be in. And I did mess around with making the roof of it curved because I thought it would look kind of neat. And I did use a curved roof in the starter house, but, you know, I wanted to try using a curved roof again. I actually think it looks pretty neat on that little gazebo there. And then, you know, here I went in and put another smaller tree in, you know, beside the other house. And it's the same tree that I had in the front yard. You know, I don't like to use a ton of different trees, so that's why I did that. And that's pretty much the only landscaping on the side of the house. And then I also put some of those little gardens in there because I wasn't exactly sure what to have in that area. And then I put another smaller tree in there so things weren't too overwhelming. And then here I'm just adding some more landscaping in beside the house. I really do like how the landscaping of this house turned out though, because while there are a good bit of plants in the landscaping, I feel like it's not too overwhelming because there's also a good bit of empty space where there's just grass, so it kind of balances out nicely. But, you know, I did put some more plants in there beside that house, and then, you know, I added some more dirt next to the foundation there. And I also added some dirt underneath of those garden boxes because I feel like there had to be some kind of dirt there, and I did mess around with putting dirt in between them before, but then, you know, like there was like dirt paths in between them, but then that just looked weird. But, you know, I feel like just having a little bit of grass underneath them looked pretty nice. And I also did go through and put some dirt beside the paths and also beside the foundation on the rest of the house and next to the gazebo. And I did add a bunch of plants in next to the gazebo just because I thought it would look really pretty. And then I found those larger lower lying flowers that I could kind of get in closer to the rest of the plants. And I think that looks pretty nice. I was glad when I came across that. Like I said, I found a lot of new plants that I didn't really look at while I was doing the Let's Build because, I mean, when I was doing the Let's Build, I didn't really want to sit there and spend a ton of time going through every single plan because I feel like that would have been a little bit boring. So it was kind of nice to go through and discover some more of those plants on my own. And, you know, like I said, I put a good bit in next to the gazebo. I also put in some rocks, which really made things look nice. And I think the gazebo is probably my favorite part of the landscaping. I don't know, it just looks really nice and elegant, and you know, and also has the bar in it, which is pretty neat. I'm really looking forward to playing this house because I just think it'll be a really fun house to play in. And this house I think it turned out to be around 60,000 simoleons, which actually isn't too bad. I mean, if I had made this in The Sims 3, it could have ended up being more. And now I'm just going through and adding in all of the exterior lighting, just making sure everything looks nice and bright at night. And I'm really happy with the lighting system in The Sims 4. It works so well, you know, because with The Sims 3, if I put a light up on the first floor, it wouldn't go through to the ground level at all, so then you gotta have more lights on the ground level, but it just works really nicely in The Sims 4. And here moving on to furnishing the gazebo, and I put one of the cheaper bars in there because I didn't want to use really expensive furniture in this house because I didn't want it to end up being like 100,000 or more simoleons, you know? Because they are younger Sims, so they're not going to have like the nicest furniture, even though this is a nice older looking style house. And the furnishing of this house, as you'll see in a little bit when I move on to the interior, which I am doing now, it's kind of a mix. It's mainly contemporary style, but there are a few kind of more older fashioned things in there. You know, I felt like maybe things that got left behind in the house, you know, from whoever actually owns it. And, you know, of course it's mixed in with cheaper, more modern furniture, because I feel like the more elegant, older looking pieces in real life would be more expensive. You know, you could probably get more contemporary looking furniture for a little bit cheaper, so that tend to be what I put in the house a little bit more to kind of go with that theme of younger people living in it. Although I do eventually want to do like just a really old-fashioned Victorian house. I definitely will do something like that in the future and just use all of the old-fashioned furniture and all of the really nice old-fashioned decorations that I haven't gotten a chance to use. And I didn't really put a ton of furniture in the foyer. There's pretty much just a coat hanger, a shoe rack. There's also this accent table with some decorations on it. And I made sure to not do what I did in the Let's Build house. You know, I didn't scale up plants to fit them in there better because I learned my lesson that just causes all sorts of issues, and you don't want to do that. So I didn't do that anywhere in this house, and I don't really think I scaled up anything. I don't remember scaling up anything in this house, so I don't think there shouldn't be any issues with that. I do know with the starter, the only thing that I scaled up with was the only thing I scaled up was a TV, but that shouldn't be an issue because it would have fit there anyway. I think the only time scaling items up really becomes an issue is if it overlaps something, you know, like it fits in somewhere it really shouldn't have fit in. So, you know, as long as you stay away from that, I think scaling things up works fine. And I think initially there was an issue with scaled up items not showing up when you download a house, but I do think they patched that, so that should be fine. And it did take me a while to figure out a curtain that I liked, because while I honestly don't really miss creative style that much, the only place where not having creative style drives me absolutely nuts is the curtains, because honestly, the color choices for the curtains are just awful. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but they're just even the modern looking ones just look weird. There's not great color choices. At this point though, the foyer is done, so I'm moving on to the living room / dining room area. And I initially had this older, more worn out looking TV cabinet in there, and you know, I also put one of the cheaper TVs in there because, like I said before, I didn't use the expensive furniture in this house because I didn't want it to cost a lot, you know, and I also wanted to look more youthful. I also used the cheapest sofa and one of the cheapest chairs, and I also used a more contemporary rug in there. And I did change the chair though, because the one that I picked initially, I didn't like the color options for it. And the color options of that one had the same color options as a sofa because it's a matching chair, so I just changed it to that. And I also changed the coffee table because I felt like the other one was a little bit too old looking, like it just looked really weird with the more contemporary furniture, so, and plus this coffee table is actually cheaper, so it worked out a little bit better that way. And then I also put in that more contemporary looking circular rug, and I also put in an end table there and put a light on it. I also added some wall paintings into this area of the house, and I stayed away from the older fashioned looking paintings because that of course just wouldn't fit in with the rest of the furnishing. And then I wanted to put in a radio, one of the cheapest radios somewhere. But, of course it doesn't have to sit on an end table, but I wanted it to initially, so I tried using that crate-looking end table just to experiment. But I feel like it just looked odd, it made this whole area look kind of busy just because the TV area wasn't really especially large. So I ended up taking out the end table, but I still wanted to have some kind of, music playing device in there, so I just stuck it on the floor, I guess, like I said, you don't really need an end table, so it just kind of works to stick it on the floor. And then here I'm moving on to the dining area, and I used the cheapest, I think it was the cheapest 2-tile dining table because I did want something a little bit bigger in that area there because there was a good bit of space for a dining room. So I just used that more plain wood table and put, I think those were mid-price chairs though, because I didn't really like the cheapest ones because they were just wood, which looked a little bit too plain. I wanted something that looked a little bit nicer than that. So I made them this grayish blue type of a color and put a nice little fruit bowl in the middle of it. And I placed this rug underneath of it, which it's kind of contemporary, but then it's not like super modern, so I felt like it kind of fit in well there. And then this is I did put that more traditional piece in the corner there just because I figured maybe kind of something that the original owner of the house left in there, because I was kind of imagining that they were renting the house, but you can't really rent The Sims, but like maybe the person who actually owns the house, who they're renting the house from, left it in there. They left a couple pieces like that throughout, and then I put that little sunflower painting in there. I was gonna go with a modern piece, but I felt like it's a little bit too modern. But at this point, the living room / dining room area is done, so I'm moving on to the kitchen. And I actually really do like how the kitchen turned out in this house. It's kind of galley style. And something I keep forgetting with the counters is that you have to manually choose the corner pieces, or I guess that might be because I think I turned off the auto counter placement. I think that's on by default, and then maybe it chooses the corner piece when it's a corner, but yeah, I turned that off so it wasn't putting that in. And I initially had some trouble with what to do for the upper cabinets because there are those 2-tile windows in the kitchen there, and it just looked weird when I had the higher up cabinets over it, but then it looked weird to have 2 of the shorter cabinets next to each other, so it looked weird to have a gap with of 2 tiles with no cabinets in it. So I did find those shorter end piece cabinets and put them in there next to the windows, which actually looked really nice. Like, I really love all the new options for the cabinets. It just looks so neat when you put them in. Like, I really love how the cabinets in this kitchen look, it just works so well with those windows, and it just goes right up to them and looks so nice. And I did use the cheaper appliances to cut down on the cost once again, and I didn't use the cheaper cabinets, or the cheapest ones, but they were the cheapest, more traditional looking cabinets, because the cheapest 2 cabinets were modern looking, which, you wouldn't have modern looking cabinets in a traditional house like this. I kind of wanted it to be like the counters and cabinets had been in there for a while, also the appliances as well, and I just really love how that kitchen looks. It might be my favorite room of the house. I really am so happy with how it turned out. But now the whole first floor of the house is done, so I'm moving on to the upstairs of it. And I did start on furnishing this landing area of the house, but I wasn't exactly sure what to do with it because I was going to make it into an office type of an area, but then I thought I wanted to furnish the bedrooms first and see what I could fit in the bedrooms, because I was thinking, maybe I'd be able to fit desk and computer into one of the bedrooms, and then, I wouldn't need to put it out there. So I just want to do that first before, and see whether I could fit a desk in one of the bedrooms or not before, furnishing that landing area. But this bedroom here is going to be Brian's bedroom, and one that Meredith and Malcolm will be sharing does have a bathroom off of it. So I guess Brian kind of has his own bathroom, then the other 2 have their own bathroom off of their bedroom. And I did initially have 2 rugs on the floor there, but then for such a small room it was a little bit too busy, so I just left the one blue one, which actually perfectly matched the fabric on the bed. And I also, of course, put in the stand-up mic in there so he can practice, and I also used the nice upright wardrobe in there and put a hamper in there as a kind of an accent. And I initially had that nice painting behind the bed, but it didn't look quite right with all the posters I had placed, so I decided to try using the shelves instead, because I didn't mean to use the shelves in the Let's Build house, but they didn't really fit anywhere, so I wanted to finally make use of those shelves that came with the game, so I put them above the bed. Unfortunately though, there's not a whole lot of objects that you can put on shelves, so I'm hoping that gets better in the future. But yeah, I only could find like 4 items that really fit in there that well and worked. And then all the furnishing is pretty much done, so I'm just doing the wallpaper, and I didn't want to make the whole room blue, but then whenever I tried putting gray in as an accent wall, it didn't really look quite right, so I just settled on making all the walls in the room blue. But his bedroom is done, so moving on to the larger of the 2 bathrooms, you know, the one out in the hall that I guess is kind of like that Brian, I keep calling Brian Malcolm, but I guess like Brian's bathroom and the guest bathroom. And I initially did put in I did use blue countertops at first just to do something a little bit fun, you know, I wanted to use something different than what I normally would, and then I also put in that little bathroom cabinet, which there's really nice decorative items for the bathroom, you know, there's a nice little basket with bathroom stuff, and there's also a little toothbrush cup, which it just nice realistic clutter. You know, I'm really happy with the clutter items that came with this game. While the blue countertops did look kind of neat, I found that when it came to doing the wallpaper and the flooring, they actually made it kind of difficult to find things that matched, particularly when it came to the wallpaper, because like the orange walls didn't really look quite right, and then I couldn't use blue because then there'd be multiple kinds of blue. So I ended up just changing the countertops to be more plain wood cabinet and gray countertop look to it, just so it went with things a little bit better. But the hallway bathroom is now done, so moving on to the master bedroom, which will of course be the one that Meredith and Malcolm used. And at first I wanted to give this bedroom a more traditional, elegant type of a look to it, so I put this it's not really one of the most expensive beds, but it's more expensive than the one that I used in Brian's bedroom, which I think was the cheapest double bed. And I will say that the cheapest double bed in this game actually does look pretty good. Like, I actually really like how it looks. But the problem with this traditional bed that I put in the bedroom is that I found it really difficult to match things to it, because I was trying to find, you know, one of the traditional rugs that would fit with it, but I found that all the ones that looked right were way too big. So I ended up just getting rid of the bed and the traditional looking end tables and just using the same modern bed, because there were better color options for it and just fit in with things a little bit better. So I just put that in with that large rose rug, you know, so things just fit in a lot better when I changed it to that. And then I just made the bed a nice silver color so that things kind of, you know, so just matched, and I could make the walls a more funky color. And then I did put a dresser in there, but I ran into an issue where the Sims actually couldn't get around it to the bed, because when I was putting it in, I was really concerned about it. So I did do a little bit of off-camera playtesting with trying to have the Sims go around the bed, and I found that they, you know, anytime I put any type of dresser in there, they couldn't get around it. So I just took out the dresser that was in there and put in a mirror and a painting and just left it at that. So that's all the furnishing for this room, so I decided to just make the walls red to kind of make it more of a statement color, since the bed was a plainer color. And at this point the bedroom's done, so moving on to the master bathroom, and I really do like how this bathroom turned out. I actually like it more than the other one, because it does have a more interesting shape to it since it's not completely square. And I just put a bathtub in this bathroom because it fit perfectly in that area right there where the window was, but then, you know, once I put it in, I couldn't really fit the shower in anywhere else. I mean, I could have put the toilet under the window and then put the shower next to it, but then I have this aversion to putting sim toilets under windows. I don't know what it is. I don't like doing that. But when I did the wallpaper, I did put a tile wall behind the bathtub just to separate a bit. And the last room to do is the landing area, and I just made it part of it into kind of an office because there wasn't really space anywhere else, you know, in the bedrooms for a computer. Since we are nearing the end of this video, I really quickly wanted to talk about how you can find this house and download it off the gallery. So you can either search for my origin ID, which is TheTidesChanging, and from that you can find, you know, this and my other downloads, or you can just search for the name of the house, which is of course Delightful Daisy. And if you aren't following me on the gallery, then be sure to if you want a notification every time I upload something. We are about to move on to the showcase though, so this will be all from me. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video.